It's 9:47 p.m. You're finally heading home after a 12-hour shift. You're exhausted, your only thought is getting back to your family, and then you see it. Red and blue lights filling your rearview mirror. Your chest tightens. An officer walks up to your window, appears relaxed, maybe even friendly, and then asks what sounds like the most harmless question in the world. Hey, where are you coming from tonight? What do you say? Most people might, and especially many immigrants, not answer without thinking, because it feels rude or suspicious not to. I'm coming from work, officer. Just left a friend's house. I was at the grocery store. That's the moment the legal trap closes, and today I want to show you exactly why. What I'm about to explain is not rumor and not social media gossip. It's based on real statutes, constitutional protections, and case law, and for anyone who drives in the United States, it may be some of the most important legal information you hear before you get behind the wheel again. My name is Timothy. I work in immigration rights strategy, and this channel, US Updates Hub, exists to give you practical legal knowledge that many professionals charge a lot of money to explain one-on-one. In this video, I'm going to do three things. First, explain how that simple question is designed to draw out information that can be used against you. Second, walk through two major mistakes immigrants commonly make in that moment, and what the law says about each. And third, give you a calm, respectful, 5-word response rooted in your constitutional rights and backed by Supreme Court precedent that you can use to protect yourself without being confrontational. This content is for informational and educational purposes only, and is not legal advice. For guidance on your specific situation, you should consult a qualified attorney. To understand why this matters, start with a basic right. In the United States, everyone, regardless of immigration status, has a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and not incriminate themselves. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, in its immigrant rights materials, explains that you generally do not have to answer questions about your immigration or citizenship status when approached by local police or many other officials. That protection comes from the U.S. Constitution and applies to people on U.S. soil, whether they are citizens, visa holders, permanent residents, or undocumented. There is also a key Supreme Court case from 2015, Rodriguez v. United States, where the court held that police may not prolong a routine traffic stop beyond the time needed to handle the reason for the stop, such as a broken tail light, just to go on a fishing expedition for other issues without reasonable suspicion. Taken together, those principles mean that when you're pulled over for something like a traffic violation, officers have a defined purpose for the stop. Once they start drifting into questions like, where are you coming from? Where do you live? What do you do for work? They are moving away from the original purpose, and you have a constitutional right to decline to answer. Now, let's look at why answering that question can be especially dangerous if you're not authorized to work in the U.S. Imagine you've just finished a long shift, you're tired, and just want to get home. The officer asks, long day? Where are you coming from? You respond, just getting off work. If you are in the U.S. on a tourist visa, such as a B-1, B-2, on an ESTA waiver, or you are currently undocumented, you are generally not authorized to work in the United States. Saying, I'm coming from work in that context can be treated as an admission that you are engaging in unauthorized employment, which is a federal immigration issue. On top of that, many local law enforcement agencies around the country have formal cooperation agreements with federal immigration authorities, sometimes referred to as 280 agreements. Under such programs, local officers in those jurisdictions may have additional authority or procedures to share information with immigration enforcement. In practice, that means a casual answer during a stop could end up in a report that is later shared or flagged for immigration review. Some people, once they realize this risk, think the solution is to simply lie. I'll just say I was at the store. Or I'll say I was at a friend's place. That approach can create a different set of problems. Under federal law, making knowingly false statements to certain types of officers can itself be a crime. And at the local level, lying to police can fall under obstruction or related offenses, depending on the jurisdiction. Even when an officer does not immediately pursue a charge, discovering that your answer is not consistent with other information, for example, if they've already scanned your plate and location data, can increase suspicion, extend the interaction, and lead to deeper inquiries into your background, including your immigration status. A simple traffic stop that could have remained focused on a minor violation can become something much more complicated once a false statement is on the record. There is also a third common mistake: providing more documents than are legally required. During a traffic stop, you are typically obligated by state law to show three things upon request: your driver's license, the vehicle's registration, and proof of insurance. Many people, especially those who are nervous about their status, go beyond that. They hand over a passport, visa, I-94 printout, or employment documents trying to appear cooperative. In most routine local traffic stops away from borders or specialized federal checkpoints, you are not required to provide those immigration documents, and offering them voluntarily can expose additional details about your status that were not part of the original purpose of the stop. Knowing what you do and do not have to present helps you avoid adding unnecessary information into the encounter. There is one more wrinkle that's important to understand. Geography and who is stopping you can change the rules. Near international borders and coastlines, federal agencies like Customs and Border Protection, CBP, operate with broader authority in what's often referred to as an extended border zone. At interior checkpoints operated by CBP within that zone, officers may have more legal basis to inquire about citizenship and immigration status as part of their standard duties. That's different from a regular city or state officer stopping you for speeding in a downtown area. It's important to stay aware of where you are and which agency is interacting with you, because your rights and obligations may not be identical in every context. That's another reason why, if an encounter begins to feel complex or escalated, the safest move is often to calmly assert your right to remain silent and ask to speak with a lawyer, then say nothing more until you receive professional advice. So what can you actually do in a typical local traffic stop to reduce your risk and stay within the law? One practical approach many lawyers describe as a simple, calm structure. When you see the lights, pull over safely, take a breath, and keep your hands visible. Provide only the three documents you're required to present. If the officer begins asking where you're coming from, where you work, or other open-ended questions unrelated to the specific violation, you can respond politely but firmly with something along these lines. Officer, I prefer not to answer questions. Said respectfully and without hostility, this kind of statement is consistent with exercising your right to remain silent. If you're then asked to step out of the car or told you are not free to go, you can ask, "Am I being detained?" Or, "Am I free to leave?" If the answer is that you are being detained or placed under arrest, many attorneys recommend saying clearly, "I am choosing to remain silent and I would like to speak with a lawyer," and then waiting without offering additional explanation. Documenting afterward what happened, time, place, what was asked, and what you said, can also be valuable if you later speak to an attorney about whether your rights were respected. Again, this video is not legal advice and cannot cover every possible situation. Laws can differ by state, local policy, and type of officer, and immigration consequences are particularly complex. But the core ideas remain the same. You generally have the right to avoid self-incrimination. You are not required to volunteer information about your work or immigration status to local law enforcement during a routine stop, and you are only obligated to provide specific driving-related documents unless you are in certain special contexts like border checkpoints or under a separate legal obligation. Here at US Updates Hub, our goal is to help you understand these high-level principles so you can have more informed conversations with your own legal counsel, protect yourself and your family, and avoid making split-second statements in stressful moments that could have long-term consequences.